Hi, I'm Nina, and today we're here with.
My name's Owen. Nice to meet you.
So today I want to talk about a little bit about you and what are your interests, what are your hobbies. So if you'd like to let me know a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah. So, like my daily basis kind of is made up of reading. I get up in the morning, make myself breakfast and kind of explore what I want to read for the day. It depends on what kind of mood I'm in. But really, I start out my day with just trying to learn something new. That's always been something that I've been really passionate about. And I guess later in the afternoon, that's when I start to get more active. I'll go for a walk. Sometimes if I'm feeling a little bit better, I'll work out for the day. Try to meet up with someone, like my friend, family, stuff like that. But that's like really what my daily basis is like. And then some of the hobbies I have is, like I said, reading. Sometimes if there's a book that I'm really passionate about, I'll like read about that book and write about it. That's like I guess that's one of my hobbies. And then other than that, I skate too. So there's always that too.
So tell me, what are some of your hobbies or some things that motivate you? What inspires you? What keeps you going?
So there's one book that I've been reading for a long time, and it's really brought my attention to like how I live my everyday life, and it helps motivate me to move forward despite knowing the things that kind of drag me down a little bit. And it's this book that's called The Society of the Spectacle. It's a book by Guy Debord, and it was written in 1967. And I found it at the library about, I think, 2 months ago. And I've been reading it on and off, but it's really opened my eyes to like how I feel like the world works and sometimes plays a role in my relationship with other people. So
I wanted to ask you a little more personal question. So what place do you consider home? Where is your home?
So I live in Portage, and I lived there my whole life. When I was 2, I lived in Richland, but we moved there after my sister was born. So I've really only ever been in Portage, but I have been in the community a lot in Kalamazoo. I used to go to a church just down the road from here. So, I did have an exposure to a different environment, but I lived here pretty much my whole life. I've loved it, but my only hang up is sometimes I have a hard time finding people that I guess I can really connect with. Like I have had friendships, but I felt like they've been unfulfilled, or they could have been something more than they actually were.
So do you feel a sense of belonging here in the community in Kalamazoo? Do you feel welcome?
Yes, I would most definitely say that I feel welcome here. It's just sometimes it's part of my own reasoning too, just because how I was brought up. I have a hard time reaching out to other people when I am struggling in life, but I think this community is really supportive and it's helped me a lot throughout my lifetime.
Are there any concerns that you've seen within the community? Something that you want to bring to us?
I don't really have any concerns. I just want to make sure that everyone's getting along and there's no violence discriminated towards a certain group of people. That's what really drives me. I just don't like that kind of stuff. I love it when people rise up together and are mutual. I don't agree with constant stigma towards a certain group of people and putting them down. So I guess that's like my only concern within the community, is as long as everyone's treating each other good.
So what are some personal goals that you have set for yourself? What do you want to do in the future?
So I graduated high school about a month ago, and really my number one goal right now is to do good at community college. I'm going to Kalamazoo Valley Community College in the fall, and I'm just really excited for that because it's gonna be like a new exposure to a different environment, and I'm excited to meet new people, that kind of stuff. But as for my goals, I really just do want to graduate community college and hopefully switch to a university. But I'm unsure what university I want right now. But I guess my main concern is just getting a good education and finding something that I'm passionate about, and it's not oriented around money, but rather than like something I actually enjoy doing. So I would say that's my biggest goal right now.
So who is that one person that inspires you?
That's kind of a hard question because I do have a lot of people that mean a lot in my life, but sometimes I have a hard time trying to dissect which person really motivated me to keep moving forward. But if I had to really say, I would say my whole family. I don't think it's one person, but I would say my mom, my dad, and most importantly, my sister too. They've all been there for me at my lowest, and I owe it all to them. And even though sometimes we have some differences and we have some disagreements, I still find a way to mutually respect their beliefs and understand how they view their outlook of life and how they view my outlook of life. So I would say that's like the biggest
So, what's
that's important
that
for me.
one piece of advice that you've been given that you will absolutely never forget?
Advice. I think it's very important to push forward no matter what, no matter where you're at in life. I think it's really important to just keep going because it is stressful at times when things aren't going your way, or you feel like you're never understood, or you're just in an environment that you can't really find anyone who understands you. I understand that there's millions of people that are going through that right now, but I think it's very, very important to keep going, even when it gets tough. Just dig your heel into the dirt, and make sure to keep going forward. And I think really what people really get hung up on is jobs and a career. They think that that kind of defines who they are as a person, their career path, and it'll attract the type of people that they want to be around. But when you become too paranoid with how your work performance is, you forget to actually get to know yourself. I feel like you alienate yourself from the world, I guess, really, because I think work is really important, but when you prioritize it over everything else, it becomes a problem. And I think it really affects your mental health and affects your relationships because you're more oriented around impressing other people rather than just being. And I think that's really scary.
So, tell me, what's that one thing that you're afraid of?
Afraid of? I would say one thing that I'm very afraid of is loneliness. And I think that's a really common concern among a lot of people. But for me, it's more of a concern because sometimes when things aren't going my way, and that happens to be a lot sometimes, depending on my mindset, I feel like I'm trapped and I can't escape the loneliness that I feel. Even when I go out and try to meet other people, I feel like there's a barrier between us that where I can't surpass that, and I can't actually express myself without feeling like people are being closed off or just kind of switch up a little bit. And that's hard and it's hurtful because when you can't find that genuine connection in your life, it's like, why do you even want to move forward? You know what I mean? You just want to kind of sulk. And I have had a habit of doing that, but I think my biggest fear is loneliness. And actually doing what I'm doing right now really helps with that. So, because I'm putting myself out of my comfort zone to meet people who might see things my way or see things similar to me.
So, what do you think people should keep in mind?
Well, I actually have a few things that I would like to show on my phone that I've been typing this down as I've read this book. There's this book by Friedrich Nice. I butcher his name, but anyway, he was a philosopher from the 1800s, and he wrote a book called Beyond Good and Evil, and it's kind of dissecting the foundations of how we view life. So there's some things I want to read. So most commonly among all people, we want to ask questions in pursuit of truth, but we rarely ask where that pursuit even comes from. Why should we value truth over lies? And what is the value of truth? And I think the real danger isn't the truth that we fear of knowing or we want to pursue. We want to know the truth that brings meaning to our life. But I think it is the belief that we must have it, that we have that obsession over finding the truth that we want. And I think maybe the will of truth is just the last lie. I think the last lie we ever tell is by saying that we want absolute absolute divine truth. I think a lot of people are chasing after that to answer all the meaningful questions that they have in life. But sometimes I think just the raw uncertainty of life and knowing that you don't know everything, I think that's the beauty of living life sometimes. And I think it is really important to find people who share your values and share your beliefs. But I think it's also very beautiful and important to find people who don't. So you are exposed to different viewpoints, and it helps you grow as a person. I read somewhere, I forgot where it was, but someone told me that you learn the most from someone that has an opposite outlook on life than you. Even if you don't agree with it, you still learn from them and how they view life. So I think it's very, very important to just put yourself out of your comfort zone, and find people who don't see eye to eye with you and try to communicate and bond with them despite that. I think that's very strong. And like I said, like I was reading, I just feel like the people lie to themselves by saying that they want absolute certain truth about somebody. I think it really is just the last lie because they're so desperate for that connection that they think that truth is the answer, when sometimes raw uncertainty, that brings people together, I think. But
So, is there any advice you would give to young people that are watching this?
I think there's a lot of questions that I would get, or a lot of answers I would get them to some of their questions, but one of the main ones is find your passion, find something that you find meaning in doing, and it's not performance, not something that you think would attract other people because you do it. Do it because you actually want to do it, and it brings meaning to your life. And I think that's the most important factor in living out your life is you don't want to live a lie. You don't want to live a lie of performance of trying to conform to other people's expectations to make yourself feel fulfilled or attractive. Because I think true attractiveness is embracing authenticity and being yourself despite the odds of someone else maybe stepping away from your life because of that, because it's off-putting to them. I think that's true strength. Shining through, even though other people might find it uncomfortable. I think it really is just, that's like one of the main things you should do is just find your passion and people will come into your life. But when you go out and try to find a job that you think would impress other people, I think that's your first error because obviously you will find people, but it might not be the type of people that you are actually seeking. Because I think people who try to make performance their whole life, putting on an image, dressing in certain clothing, talking a certain way, hanging out with certain groups of people, doing certain activities together. If it's not something you actually want to do, but you feel pressured into doing it because that's what the crowd wants to do, that's you isolating or alienating you from yourself in the pursuit of coming to other people's expectations. I think that's scary. I think that's really scary because I think this society makes us alienate ourselves from the people that we are in our lives and just from ourselves. And so I guess, yeah, that would be one thing that I would say to young people is just find something that you're passionate about and people will come into your life. It's just simple as that. And jobs are important because obviously we need jobs to survive, but don't make it all there is to life. There's so much more to life than chasing a paycheck because wage labor can get you so far in life, but you can't buy experiences. You can't buy love. That comes through not spending money on anything. It's just going out and meeting people, making eye contact, smiling, laughing with people. I think that's how you actually succeed in life. Not the job you have, not the education you have, because that may be impressive on a resume, but when all you talk about is your job and your career and the things you learn from school, it is important because people find that impressive. But I think the most impressive thing is to talk about the things you want to talk about, not that you feel like you had to talk about to, I guess, make people uncomfortable or comfortable.
And lastly, what brings meaning to your life? What makes you truly happy?
I think just bonding with other people, sharing eye contact, holding hands, sharing laughs, just the common joys people overlook. Walking down the sidewalk on a nice sunny day, enjoying the weather, sharing a brief conversation with someone who understands you, just stuff like that. I mean, people overlook that stuff because they think it's so trivial and, I guess banal, but really, when you don't have that stuff and you become more oriented around, chasing money, chasing looks, chasing other people who think that you think will bring meaning to your life, I think it's just exhausting because you don't understand that you have to love yourself first. And by doing that, you need to loosen up and just be open with everybody. Don't cherry pick the people you want to hang out with because you'll never truly bond with anyone if you just hang out with certain people who make you feel comfortable. Sometimes part of growing is hanging out with people who are different than you and don't understand you and may even question you and critique you on stuff that you do in your life. And I think it's really important to be open to that because if you remain closed off and never really take criticism to heart and change yourself, I think you're just going to stay the same person your whole life and you're not really going to grow. And you may find some people who understand you, but I think I don't know. I think it's a very narrow outlook on life to just live that way. But that's just me.
Well, thank you for coming and joining us here for the interview. And we really enjoyed having you here and you telling us everything that inspires you, what drives you, and what motivates you. Thank you again.
You're watching Public Media Network.